Over-tourism in Europe has become a real problem. Some famous destinations are so crowded in summer that they're not nearly as enjoyable as they used to be. Fortunately, there are often nearby alternatives with much of the same charm but far fewer tourists and lower prices. I'm Roger from priceoftravel.com, and here are 7 European destinations that might give you a better experience than the famous places nearby. Let's start with Prague. Prague is gorgeous and has some of Europe's most distinctive architecture, which is why it appears in quite a few of my videos. But especially during summer, Prague is also famous for crowds that can make the historic center feel packed from morning until night. I still think it's worth a visit, but after a day or two, I'd rather hop on a bus or train and continue on to Cesky Krumlov. Cesky Krumlov is actually Czechia's second most popular tourist destination, but with a population of only about 13,000 and a limited number of hotels, it still feels like a charming small town rather than a major tourist city. A winding river loops through the medieval center, a beautiful castle overlooks the town from above, and once the day trippers have left in the late afternoon, the atmosphere becomes even more enjoyable. If what you love about Prague is the medieval architecture, cobblestone streets, and old world charm, Cesky Krumlov offers much of the same appeal with far fewer people. It's also quite affordable. As one example, here's a highly rated 4-star hotel right in the historic center for only $84 per night in late June. Next up is Santorini, which is probably the most famous Greek island and arguably the most scenic as well. The dramatic cliffs, whitewashed villages, blue-domed churches, and incredible sunset have made it one of Europe's most iconic destinations. Unfortunately, those same qualities attract enormous crowds, and on most summer days 4 or 5 cruise ships are anchored just offshore. If what you love about Santorini is the scenery and classic Greek island atmosphere, then Milos is a great alternative. It has the same white and blue Cycladic architecture and beautiful turquoise water, but with a much more relaxed feel and far fewer visitors. Santorini welcomes about 3.5 million visitors each year, while Milos gets only around 200 to 250,000, so you're dealing with less than 1/10 as many tourists. Milos is also famous for its dramatic coastal scenery, unusual rock formations, and a collection of beautiful beaches scattered around the island. During summer, the prevailing winds generally blow from north to south, and many visitors head to the calmer beaches along the south coast. A few of the most appealing beaches are only accessible by boat, while others are reached most easily by car, so renting a vehicle is often the best way to explore the island at your own pace. Hotels here aren't always cheap, but they're usually more affordable than Santorini. As one example, here's a well-reviewed hotel for about $105 per night in late June. Amsterdam remains one of Europe's most interesting cities, with its famous canals, historic architecture, and world-class museums, but it's also one of the continent's busiest tourist destinations, and hotel prices in summer can be eye-watering. If what you love about Amsterdam is the canal-lined streets and relaxed Dutch atmosphere, consider staying in nearby Haarlem instead. Located only about 16 minutes away by train, Haarlem offers beautiful historic architecture, charming canals, excellent restaurants, and a much quieter feel. You can still visit Amsterdam whenever you like, but at the end of the day you'll return to a city that feels more local and far less crowded. Haarlem isn't exactly a secret, but it's a fraction of Amsterdam's size and receives far fewer visitors. As one example, here's a highly rated hotel in late June for about $149 per night. A similar hotel in Amsterdam's Canal District would likely cost at least twice that much, so you get much of the same charm with far fewer crowds and a much lower hotel bill. By the way, if you're finding this video useful, I'd really appreciate a like, as it helps more people find the channel. Next up, we're staying in Belgium. I've long argued that Brussels is a bit overrated once you've seen the magnificent Grand Place, which is one reason many visitors prefer to spend more time in Bruges. The problem is that Bruges has become so popular that it can also feel crowded almost year-round, especially during summer. If what you love about Bruges is the medieval architecture, canals, and old-world atmosphere, then Ghent is a wonderful alternative. The historic center looks remarkably similar, with beautiful canal views, impressive historic buildings, and plenty of charm, but it receives far fewer tourists than its more famous neighbor. Ghent also has an excellent restaurant scene and a lively local atmosphere, thanks in part to its large university population. As one example, here's a well-reviewed historic hotel in the center for only $140 per night during summer. You can still visit Bruges or Brussels easily by train, but at the end of the day you'll return to a city with much of the same charm and noticeably fewer crowds. Next, let's head to Switzerland, which is a bit different because most visitors come for the scenery rather than the cities. Zurich has the country's busiest airport and it's Switzerland's main transportation hub, so many travelers spend a few days there before continuing on to the Alps. Zurich is actually a lovely city set along a river and a lake with an attractive historic center and excellent restaurants. The problem is that it's also Europe's most expensive city, and there aren't all that many major sites to justify spending several days there. If what you love about Zurich is the historic architecture, waterfront setting, and relaxed Swiss atmosphere, then Bern is an even better choice. Switzerland's capital sits on a dramatic bend on the Aare River, creating some of the most beautiful urban views anywhere in Europe. The UNESCO-listed Old Town is compact and easy to explore on foot, and Albert Einstein lived there for several years while developing some of his early theories. Bern certainly isn't cheap, but it's generally less expensive than Zurich and has a more relaxed feel. As one example, here's a well-located hotel in summer for about $235 per night. You still get much of the same Swiss charm, but with fewer tourists, lower prices, and more worthwhile sites within walking distance. These last two destinations are along the Mediterranean coast, so let's head down to Croatia. Dubrovnik is the country's most famous destination, and it's easy to understand why. The historic center inside the city walls is absolutely stunning, with polished limestone streets, beautiful old buildings, and a dramatic setting overlooking the Adriatic Sea. The problem is that Dubrovnik has become one of Europe's most crowded destinations. On many summer days, multiple cruise ships arrive at once, filling the narrow streets with visitors, and the restaurants are all priced for tourists rather than locals. If what you love about Dubrovnik is the historic atmosphere and beautiful Adriatic setting, then Split is a fantastic alternative. Croatia's second largest city has the same limestone streets and waterfront charm, but it also contains Diocletian Palace, a remarkably well-preserved Roman complex that forms the heart of the Old Town. In my opinion, it's actually more interesting than anything you'll find in Dubrovnik. Split is also a much better transportation hub, with ferries connecting to nearby islands and train and bus links to the rest of Croatia. As one example, here's a full apartment near the palace for only about $160 per night in late June. Prices drop considerably outside of the peak summer season, and they're generally lower than Dubrovnik year-round. You still get much of the same Dalmatian charm, but with lower prices, better transportation, and noticeably fewer crowds. Last up, if we're talking about over-tourism in Europe, we have to talk about Barcelona, which has become one of the poster children for the issue in recent years. Barcelona might have the most interesting architecture in Europe, including the spectacular Sagrada Familia, but the crowds, especially in summer, have become so intense that many travelers are starting to look elsewhere. Fortunately, Valencia, a few hours down Spain's Mediterranean coast, offers a compelling alternative. Like Barcelona, it has sandy beaches right in the city, a lively restaurant scene, and a beautiful historic center, but with far smaller crowds throughout the year. Valencia may not have the Sagrada Familia, but it does have the striking City of Arts and Sciences, a futuristic complex that has become one of Spain's most recognizable modern landmarks. The Old Town is compact, attractive, and easy to explore on foot, and this is also the birthplace of paella, so food lovers will have plenty to enjoy as well. As one example, here's a well-reviewed hotel in the historic center for around $118 per night in late June. Restaurants and bars are generally cheaper here as well. If what you love about Barcelona is the Mediterranean atmosphere, beaches, architecture, and food culture, Valencia offers much of the same charm with fewer crowds and lower prices. So those were 7 European destinations that offer much of the same charm as some of the continent's most famous tourist hotspots, but with fewer crowds and often lower prices as well. I've got more information in a companion article on priceoftravel.com, which I'll link in the description along with all of the hotels featured in this video. I'd also love to hear your suggestions. Which famous European destination would you replace, and what alternative would you recommend instead? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoy videos about Europe and other affordable travel destinations, please consider subscribing so you don't miss future videos. Thanks for watching all the way to the end, and YouTube thinks you'll enjoy this video next. I'll see you in the next one.